Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I hired a photographer, and I've talked about this in some of my past videos as well as on my Instagram stories, and I wanted to share with you my experience of hiring a photographer that might be able to help you. So I'll talk about the entire process from how I made the ad, all the good stuff after I hired him, maybe some bad stuff that I've been dealing with, and then yeah, give you some tips on how you can hire your own photographer. So if you're thinking about hiring a photographer, or maybe you're just wanting to know what my journey was like, then just keep watching. Okay, so I decided I was ready to get a photographer when I came home from work. I was exhausted as usual, and I had so much to do when I got here. There were clothes on the ground, there was stuff on my clothing rack, there were clothes on the dressers, shoes everywhere, and I just decided at that point, I can't do this anymore. I either got to stop reselling or I got to figure something out so that my business will run smoother than it currently is or was at the time. And yeah, I just decided, okay, well, what can I do? And I had taken a business course over a year ago, and during that course they had said that to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be okay with buying someone else's time. So I took a look at my business, and I was just trying to figure out what can I give to someone? What would I be comfortable giving to someone else? I mean, I can do the shipping, I can do the listing part. There's a couple aspects that I want to give away to someone else, or would be willing for someone to do that, and one of those was photography. So I had given that to Mike at one point, and he did really well with that. He took some really good shots, different creative angles, and I sold the majority of the things that he took for me. However, he's just not interested in it. He has no interest in reselling whatsoever, and he didn't want to continue it. And I'm also very particular about the way I like things to look, and he discovered that right away. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try to hire a photographer. And now I would not have decided to hire a photographer if I did have the time to do it on my own, because it is a big expense. It's a business expense that you can write off, but regardless, it is an expense that you would have to take out of the business to hire someone to take the photos for you. I knew I was willing to invest in a photographer to help free up that time, and also to help me run my business a little bit more smoothly, and that the return on my investment would pay for itself. So I was comfortable in hiring a photographer, and that's what I did. So I watched a video from Ambitions Runway. She goes by Ambitions Runway on Instagram. Her name is Emma, and I give her full credit for my entire process because I did definitely follow her advice from that video. So the majority of it is from her experience that she shared, and I'm just sharing my process. So everything, all the little details that happened within my process. So the first thing that I did was I created a picture for my ad using Canva, and I took that picture and posted my ad on Facebook, Instagram, and Craigslist. Now, Emma had put her ad on Facebook, and she said she got a ton of emails or a ton of messages asking about the job, or people who said that they wanted to work for her. Unfortunately for me though, it didn't work out that way. I got zero interest on Facebook. I did get a couple people who were interested on Instagram, but that didn't go anywhere. And then I got a bazillion emails within an hour of posting that ad from Craigslist. And I know Craigslist is really sketchy, or can be very sketchy, just based on the news headlines that are out there. But I did take a chance with Craigslist. It was the one ad I had to pay for, and it was $5. So I paid that $5 because I knew it was a business expense that I could write off. So once that ad posted, I got a bazillion emails. But what I did like about Craigslist was that they protect your email address. So they encrypt your email. You just reply using the thread that they send you, and no one will ever see your email address, and no one will ever have your phone number. So throughout this entire process, no one had my email address, no one had my phone number, which is what I really wanted. There are websites out there that you can use if you don't want to use Craigslist to encrypt your email for you. So definitely do some research if you want to go that route. But Craigslist did it for me, and that was one aspect I was really grateful for. I want to backtrack and I want to talk about what was in the ad. So in the Craigslist ad, or actually all the ads, because it was the same description, I made sure that I was very, very, very specific about what I wanted out of their service, the person who's going to be applying for this job. So I wanted to make sure that they had some visual aids to help them see what my expectations were. Along with the picture that I put on, that I created on Canva, I had included some sample shots. So in the details, I put that I want everything on a white background, has to be a 1:1 ratio. I need 8 photos. 1 front shot, 1 back shot, 2 side shots, and 2 detail shots. So I used one of my photos, one of my best photos that I've taken, and I put them on Craigslist so they can flip through the photos and see the examples of what I was expecting from them. So it's very specific about what I wanted. I said I would drop off and pick up the items, and I was trying to help answer their questions before we got to that phone interview process. So that's what I would recommend, is you doing the same thing. Give them some examples of what you're looking for, be very specific about your expectations, and try to answer as many questions up front in your ad if you do create one. All right, so the interview process. So once I started getting these emails, what I did is I created some appointments using signup.com, and it's a free website where you can create some appointments. So I sent them an email to say, hey, please reserve your spot at a time that's convenient for you so that we can have a phone conversation about the position that you're interested in. Once I got them to sign up, I used Zoom meetings, which is also a free service. I used Zoom to set up a phone meeting with them, and I just emailed them the link and said, hey, during your appointment, please click on this link and we'll be able to talk to each other. So we used Zoom, and during the phone conversation, because in the ad, I had answered a lot of their questions up front, and those who were interested responded to my ad. And during the phone conversation, I just kind of recapped, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I do, these are my hopes and dreams, and all that. And then we started talking about the money part. That's the part, of course, that they're most interested in. And I wanted to make sure I talked about that up front, just because it saves both of us time. So I'm not beating around the bush. I'm just giving them the information they really want up front. And I told them what I was hoping for. And so let me give you some perspective, I guess. So I had a total of 10 people who were interested, who emailed me initially. 7 people had signed up for the appointments. 6 of them actually called in. So they're kind of weeding each other, or weeding themselves out along this time. So I eventually spoke to 6 people. 2 of them decided that, based on everything that we talked about during that short conversation, the job just wasn't for them. Another 2, I decided that, you know what, as great as you are, this is just not a job opportunity that I feel comfortable filling with you. The last 2 people were amazing as well, and I ultimately was stuck between both of them. So the first person is Paul, who I'm currently working with. Paul is a graphic designer, a professional photographer. He does web design and catalogs for multiple companies, big companies throughout the United States, so he's super qualified. The other person, I wish I remember her name. I think it was Brittany, or it could have been Samantha.
I don't even know it's Samantha.
I was very interested in her too. She did professional photography for weddings, portraits, landscape, those type of things, and she has a studio downtown Phoenix, and she teaches photography too. She's really, really good, and I just vibe very well with both of these individuals. So I was interested in hiring both of them, and what my plans were was to hire both of them, give them 2 of the same amount of items, similar items, compare their skills, and decide from there who I was going to ultimately stick with. But on the day I was supposed to drop things off to, we'll just call her Brittany, she called me and said that, you know, the amount that we had negotiated on, I just can't do 8 photos for that amount. I can do 3 or 4 at most, but not the full 8 photos. Also no edits, so basically I'm just taking pictures for you. And obviously that doesn't work for what my hopes and dreams were for this opportunity. So I said, okay, thank you so much, and I appreciate your honesty and you being upfront about that. So let's just part ways and wish each other the best of luck. And that's what we did. All right, so let's talk about the negative portions or negative aspects about this entire process, because if you're walking into this thinking that it's going to be all unicorns and glitter, rainbow and sunshine, you're going to be hit with a full smack of reality, because it's really not all unicorns and glitter and sunshine and rainbows and everything else. There is a negative aspect that you will have to deal with, and that's okay, because you get stronger, you learn a little bit more throughout the process. So one of the first things was we had some miscommunications, myself and Paul, in the very beginning. So for instance, he had asked me, do you think that you would want your lighter colored items on a black background? If so, then I can do that for you. And I said, okay, well, yeah, we can try it out and then let me know and we'll see, we'll go from there. So my understanding was that he was going to send me a sample picture and then we decide, okay, or I would decide yes or no, I want to go forward with that. What ended up happening is he took pictures of all my light color items on the black background, actually even some of the darker colored items on the black background, and I hated it. I really don't like it. I mean, my aesthetic is everything has to be in a lighter background and, you know, all bright and beautiful type of aesthetic. And so when I saw the black background, I didn't like it. And so he was a little upset about that. I mean, I think I offended him a little bit, which he's right to be offended because he did work hard. I mean, he's a professional, he knows what he's doing. And for me, I just have a different way of looking at things. So, I told him I wasn't happy with them, I didn't like it, and I thought that he was going to just give me a sample of it and we go from there, but that didn't end up happening. So we learned from that. He needs to send me something first to approve, and then we go forward from there, and that's how things have gone a couple times since. So it was a bad thing, but it did turn into a good thing. Another thing was that I noticed, because he's working on several projects, when he's overwhelmed with not overwhelmed, but he's working on other things at the same time, he would forget things. So he forgot at one point to put some pictures on the 1:1 ratio. Another time there were some things that were distracting in the background, like a dollar bill, and like the curtain or the fabric that he was using was shifted, so it wasn't the full clean background. There was like a corner of his normal room background back there. So there are a couple things that happened, also color grading. So there were some things that we had to work on, and what I did learn from that is that I have to be careful about how I communicate these things to him, because he's very prideful, which he should be. He's a very skilled person. There's a lot of communication that I'm learning here. I'm learning how to manage another person who's working for me. So that's new. I've never had to be kind of like the boss of the situation. It's just always been me. There's a lot of learning moments for both of us that have been going on. Nothing really too negative aside from that, but just something to be aware of, that you really have to be very specific in setting your expectations, and I'm learning to do that up front. As soon as I drop something off with him, I'm making sure that I tell him up front, this is what I want, this is what I'm expecting. He's learning, okay, she said this, so I'm going to send her a sample and confirm this is what she wants, and go from there, you know. So a lot of learning for sure that's happening throughout this process. Okay, I like to leave things on a positive note, so let's talk about the good things that have come out of this entire process. So for one, the number one biggest thing is that I have the time back. So really being okay with buying someone else's time is so true that it will really help your business, because now I have the extra time to list more items. So I'm not having to take the time to set up my equipment and throw everything on Rosie, my mannequin, and all of that stuff. So he's doing it for me, and he sends it through Dropbox. He tells me photos are ready. I can immediately start grabbing them from Dropbox and listing my items. So it's so amazing that I have that ability now, and it's really super helpful. Another thing is that he's willing to work with me. I think what helped is that when we had our phone conversation, I let him know why I'm doing this, why I'm selling online, and that's because I have a goal to become debt free. So he did work with me on the pricing aspect. So I'm not going to share how much I'm actually paying him, because if any of you decide that you want to go with Paul and hire him for your reselling business, I want him to be able to negotiate a price that's fair for both of you. So I can tell you though that Ambitions Runway had mentioned that she paid, I think, like $1 per item for the photos that she's getting from her team. And I can tell you it's not $1 per item. However, what Paul did do for me is he did negotiate a pricing that works for different types of items that I never even considered. So for instance, I pay a certain amount for any clothing that has to be on the mannequin. I pay a higher dollar amount because it's more energy, more time for him to put the things on the mannequin, take them off, do the other one, you know, so on and so forth, versus items like necklaces and belts and shoes. He told me, or he actually asked me, if I would want to pay a lower price for those smaller items, because he doesn't have to take so much time putting it on a mannequin, taking it off, doing these type of things. He just can sit at a desk and it's easier for him to do that. So that was so nice of him to actually give me that option to pay him less. No one would do that. I don't know of anyone who would do that. So I was just thinking I was going to pay one flat price per item, no matter what it was. So something to consider if you're hiring a photographer too. Something else is that he has a wonderful girlfriend, and she helps him with the women aspect of it, because we know our guys will look at our clothes and say, like, what the heck is that? How are you going to wear that? Or how does that go on someone? And that was kind of him too. I have some funny photos of how he put some items on the mannequin, because he just wasn't sure, you know, what the heck is this item? Does it go on the mannequin? Do they wear it like a dress? Like, how is it supposed to go? So now she helps him with that, and that's nice of her to do that for us. There's just so many great things. He's a really kind soul. He's very patient with me, because like I said, I'm very particular about certain things. So he's super patient, and I'm just really grateful for him. So a lot of great things have come out of this whole process. So don't be discouraged. Find someone who works for you, even if that takes 1, 2, 3 people to go through before you find that perfect match. But definitely take the time. Don't sacrifice what you're looking for. Be very specific, be upfront, so that you can get someone in the end that will work for you and your business. Alrighty guys, that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions that I didn't get to answer for you in this video, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to help as best as I can. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It does help my channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so that you are always notified whenever I upload a new video for you. And until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful sales week, lots of sales days ahead, and a great day.